Grand opening, grand closing.
Welcome, my friends, my family, my fellow gamers. Your only friend in these YouTube streets, Puerto77, and we're back on another video. So, hey, let's talk about Phil Spencer's perfectly executed damage control methodology using Jez Gordon from Windows Central in a recent interview. It is textbook risk management damage control, right? So now what do I mean by that? Well, let's start with what began, this whole issue that began with, and it began with this right here, right? Tim Stewart, CFO, who a couple of days ago, November 28th, I think was the specific day, he was here in California, San Diego area, where he had a summit with Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo hosted a summit, and it was like a 3-day summit with various CFOs and leaders in the industry talking about that. One specific keynote was with Xbox CFO, Chief Financial Officer Tim Stewart, talking about AI, Xbox gaming, various subjects. It was about 40 minutes. But in particular, that sparked a conversation within the gaming community was Microsoft's future plans with Xbox and a change in strategy to expand first-party experiences in any device to include PlayStation and Nintendo, two platforms Tim Stewart specifically identified. He even stated that they were once looked at as competitors. These were statements that he said. Now, this statement, obviously, gamers in the gaming community, console wars, content creators found this clip, and of course, it's spreading through the gaming community as validation that Microsoft will put their games on platforms, even platforms that gamers see as competing platforms, PlayStation, Nintendo. The fundamental idea of what people are saying is Microsoft going third party, meaning now it's not really about first party, just ecosystem, or just first party, as in this is, you got to get an Xbox or an Xbox supported platform. Those days are gone. Tim Stewart let the cat out the bag. Problem is, he wasn't supposed to, right? This wasn't the timing to reveal some type of information, but you got to look at it from Tim Stewart's own view. He is talking to financial analysts, financial experts, investors. This is Wells Fargo, who's hosting the summit. Wells Fargo is the 6th largest bank in the world in terms of market capitalization. They're the 6th largest. This is not IGN. This is not Game Reactor or Game Industry Biz or any other gaming news sites or even Windows Central. This is targeted specifically from an industry of professionals looking at investments opportunities, investments growth, and future strategies and investments. Most of these people probably aren't even gamers, probably don't even care about gaming, other than they recognize the gaming industry is a huge multi-billion-dollar industry that is even bigger than music and movies combined. That is the audience Tim Stewart is speaking to. Tim Stewart is probably not well versed in the gaming culture or just how supportive or fanboys, how there's a culture of just people really tied to gaming. He doesn't understand that. But you know who does? Phil Spencer. Phil Spencer is very well versed in how the gaming community reacts to news. He understands the culture. He is very well versed. Hell, he was the one that had an argument with Crack Gamer when Crack Gamer was pissed that Quantum Break went to PC. That became a whole thing in of itself. So Phil Spencer is very well versed on community reaction within the gaming community, right? And now wasn't the time to make an announcement like that. But Tim Stewart isn't. He's a financial guy. He's a numbers guy. He does numbers. Executes plans for profits, maximize profits, expands business ideas, and he's talking to a like-minded culture. But he didn't realize that information, that summit will get in the hands of gamers, and gamers will talk about it in the gaming community. Phil Spencer realized that all too well. So what does Phil Spencer does? He goes out there and he's thinking, man, I got to damage control this. I got to find a way to make this right. So who does he go to? He goes to Windows Central. Real quick, right? Within the day, Phil Spencer gets an interview with Jez Gordon, right? And let's talk. Let's talk stuff, see how he can damage control this. Because Phil understands negative news, especially during the biggest shopping season for gaming, where you sell the most games, the most hardware, and probably gain the most subscriptions. Now's not the time to tell gamers that of Microsoft's future plans with other platforms on once would-be competitors to Xbox. Now's not the time to do that. It's kind of similar to what Phil Spencer did when he announced, Scalebound was canceled. He didn't announce Scalebound was canceled in November, December when the consoles were selling. He announced it in January after the holiday season's over. It was January, I think 2017, where Phil Spencer said, hey, we canceled Scalebound. That project was already canceled for a while. But he didn't make the official announcement till after the holiday season. He ain't gonna make an announcement like that in November, December during the biggest holiday shopping season for gaming. No, we're gonna smooth this out. We're gonna rip the band-aid when the band-aid needs to be ripped off in its due time. And now's not the time to do it. But Tim Stewart doesn't understand that because he's a numbers guy. He's a financials guy. Doesn't do console war. He doesn't cater to fanboys. He doesn't cater to YouTube content creators or just gamers on Twitter. That's not his responsibility. His responsibility is to talk about it with industry analysts, investors, and see how they make money. That's his job. That's what he gets paid for. He doesn't understand that. Phil Spencer does, though. So Phil Spencer's like, I gotta smooth this out. I gotta find a way to damage control this. And guess what? He got his way with Jez Gordon on Windows Central. But here's the thing. I hope you heard this phrase. Ask the right questions and you will get the right answers. You got to ask the right questions. You can't ask any question and think you're going to get the answer that you want. Your questions have to be specific so that way you could get the answers that you truly want. Well, what does Jez Gordon talk about? The question he asked Phil, it's a long interview. It's an interview that addresses other topics, but for this topic, in relation to Tim Stewart, right? Jazz asked, on Xbox Game Pass coming to other platforms, innovation in the future, console hardware, and keeping Xbox fans excited. So, in terms of content going to PlayStation and Nintendo, Jazz specifically asked about Game Pass. And it says right here, let me see if I could make it bigger for you. It says, I asked Phil Spencer about Xbox CFO's Tim Stewart's recent comments regarding Xbox Game Pass. Stewart, in a presentation with Wells Fargo, said that Microsoft's aim was to bring Xbox Game Pass to any screen that can play games, including Nintendo and PlayStation. Many Xbox fans took that to indicate that Microsoft is preparing for an industry where Xbox hardware no longer exists, since Xbox Game Pass and its exclusives are a primary value driver for Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, and Xbox One hardware. Phil Spencer answers, I'll start by saying we have no plans to bring Game Pass to PlayStation or Nintendo. It's not in our plans, but I think you hit it on the right point of what it means to own Xbox. The thing I want to be focused on is how do we continue to innovate for people who made the commitment to our hardware platform, and how do we continue to make sure that they feel great about investment in what we built. I'm obviously going to have my own point of view on our hardware, but I think our hardware team did a great job with the Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S this generation, giving value and performance in the hardware line. When I think about investments in things like Game Pass and Xbox Cloud Gaming, crossplay and cross-save and IDI Xbox, all of these things, I want us to continue to innovate so people on our console feel like we're making investments in console that matches their commitment to make it to us. Game Pass was one of the things that over the last 5 years we built and we continue to grow. It's on PC, it's on cloud. It's an important part of the Xbox console identity, and I think we will continue to be that. And we will continue to look at our future ways for us to innovate across our game portfolio and our platform. Okay? Now here's the problem with that question. Again, like I said, ask the right questions, get the right answers. That question is on Game Pass. Which, okay, you could say, yeah, Puerto Rock. But let me ask you this. Is Game Pass the only way to play Xbox games? No. You can still buy games from Xbox to play them. On PC, there's a lot of PC gamers that don't have Game Pass. They don't want Game Pass. They want to buy the games and own it. and therefore they buy their games on Steam. No Game Pass. Okay? The thing with Game Pass is we already knew the challenges of putting Game Pass on PlayStation and Nintendo because Phil Spencer already explained it back in 2021. Phil Spencer explains why Xbox Game Pass hasn't made it to PS4 or Nintendo Switch yet. In a recent interview, head of Xbox Phil Spencer explains why its popular Game Pass service hasn't made it to PS4 or Switch. Right? And right here it says, when asked about Game Pass coming to Nintendo Switch, Spencer explained that the company's effort were elsewhere, mainly because those closed platforms don't want something like Game Pass. It's clear that he's talking about Nintendo and potentially even PlayStation, but also generally regarding any platform that could in theory support Game Pass. Instead, because Spencer wants fans to have the full Xbox experience anywhere it delivers Game Pass, the company has focused on platforms that could promote growth, the internet, PC, mobile. In his exact words, this is quote, "We have no plans to bring it to any other kind of closed platforms right now, mainly because those closed platforms don't want something like Game Pass. There's a ton of open platforms out there for us to grow in, the web, PC, and mobile. So all of our focus, frankly, is on those platforms." When you look at closed platforms, he's talking about Nintendo and PlayStation. Maybe Apple. Apple's kind of a closed platform in a way, right? Especially now that, but at the time, they didn't have the iPhone 15 Pro to run AAA games. But you see what I'm talking about. The issue with Game Pass not on PlayStation Nintendo isn't really a Microsoft thing. You got to have that conversation about Sony and Nintendo. They're the focus. They're the ones stopping the train. So not really Microsoft at that point. Microsoft says there's nothing we can do. You know, if Sony and Nintendo allowed Microsoft to put Game Pass on their platform in the full scope that it is, Game Pass would have been on PlayStation and Nintendo Switch. That would have been old news already. But Nintendo and Sony's blocking that, okay? So what is the right question that needs to be asked, right? What is it that we really need to ask that should have been, right? That Jez Gordon did not ask. The question he was also supposed to ask says, fine, now we know about Game Pass. You have no plans to put it on. And we probably have an idea why. But what about new game sales? Just simply selling games on PlayStation ecosystem and Nintendo, right? That's the question he should have asked, because he should have mentioned that Tim Stewart specifically mentioned that there's a change in strategy to expand first-party experiences. And he mentioned PlayStation, Nintendo, and he even described them as Microsoft no longer looks at them as competitors. So is there any plans to sell games? Maybe not through Game Pass, but actually a la carte sell games on PlayStation and Nintendo, whether it's day and date with the console or maybe a delayed port. Similar strategy to what Sony is doing with PC, where the games come out first on console, their PS5, and then a year or 2 years later, 3 years later, you get a PC port. Is something like that being discussed, planned by Microsoft? Ask the right questions, you'll get the right answers. But there's no conversation about selling games. It's just Game Pass. Microsoft now not going to sell games no more? Like everything has to be done through Game Pass? Is that the plan? No. You know what I'm saying? Let's be honest here, right? Let's all be honest here. You know, an interview like that with Windows Central or, you know, websites like that, they already have the questions planned out with Phil Spencer. Jez Gordon's not going to go Walter Cronkite with the pencil in the ear and the notepad and do ambush journalism. There is no ambush journalism. Every question that was on there was purposely designed and agreed upon. It was already played out. This was nothing more than just, let's get something out there to placate the Xbox fan base, to calm them down, get them relaxed, and you clearly see it. In fact, I'm bookmarking tons of receipts. The amount of receipts I'm bookmarking is insane. Because when Microsoft reveals their plans and they actually are ready to show what they're doing, oh man, I'm going to unload on Twitter. It's going to be insane. I'm bookmarking all of it. All of it. And the only reason why I'm going to this length to bookmark it, it blows my mind that literally the CFO talking to an investor audience in plain language, and you guys, some of you guys, still find a way to be in denial. Like, this was like the most obvious thing. Like, it's literally plain language. No ambiguous statements, nothing. It's as straightforward as you can get. Even the interview, you guys didn't even try to challenge the interview. The interview only talked about Game Pass, and you Xbox dudes didn't even say, okay, cool, we got the Game Pass answer, but what about selling games? That's a totally different dynamic. And you guys didn't even challenge Jazz on that. You didn't even say, hey, Jazz, how come you didn't ask about selling games too? You just mentioned Game Pass. That's just one aspect. What about porting games for sale? You guys didn't even do that. You guys are just want to remain ignorant, and that's fine. Just stay that way. Time will tell the truth. And no, I bookmarked receipts, crazy receipts. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be crazy what we're going to see in the future, right? But this is grade A, textbook, corporate. Let's find a way to do some risk management and damage control, especially in the middle of the shopping season, so we can calm people down. But guess what? The announcement's coming. You guys ain't going to like it. But if you want to hold the line, hey, go ahead. My recommendation is just rip the Band-Aid off and let the wound heal on its own. It'll be easier, you know? But if you want to stay the course, all right, stay the course. It's only going to be worse for you guys. The longer you resist, the longer you hold the line, it's only going to be disastrous for you guys. And then the funny part is, you're going to blame Microsoft. You're going to go at them. You're going to tweet Phil. You're going to tweet Sarah Bond, and you're going to be mad at them when clearly you see what's going on. Will only have yourself to blame when you are emotionally destroyed and distraught when Microsoft makes this announcement. That's on you. That's not on Microsoft. They are showing you who they are, but you rather be placated. Hey, that's none of my business. All I know is I got these receipts, and content creation is going to be good. It's going to be good, and many people on my channel is going to be entertained. We just have to let it wait. It's like a good stew. We just got to let it simmer. Just going to let this simmer. And we're going to, not yet. Let it simmer for a little bit. We cooking up some shit. It's going to be great. Anyway, let me know what you think about Phil Dominus Aurelius Maximus expertise in damage control. Hit up the comment section. Let me know if you're one of those Xbox guys that's not falling for this nonsense. Do you see the writing on the wall? Is it obvious? Or let me know if you're still holding the line like a true soldier. Let me know. This is the only friend is YouTube Street Puerto77. If you're new to the channel and you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe, check out my previous content. It's all recent. It's good. Hey, enjoy the content. You guys have a great weekend. I'm out of here. You guys take care. Peace.
Grand opening, grand closing.